Madam President, sometime today or tomorrow, Senate Democrats will have an opportunity to show what kind of future they believe in. They can vote for one of the Republican plans to get our nation's finances under control, each of which involves the kind of tough choices we'll need to make to bring down both deficits and debt. Or they can vote on the President's plan, which continues the unsustainable status quo, a vote to preserve our very way of life or throw it in jeopardy. It's interesting, when the President first announced his budget, most people panned it as tepid and irresponsible. The Washington Post summed it up pretty well by saying the President punted. Yet Senate Democrats embraced it. The senior senator from New York said the President's budget should have bipartisan support. The chairman of the Budget Committee gave the President, quote, good grades for a beginning. Other Democratic senators called the President's budget a step in the right direction, an important step forward, a good start, and a credible blueprint. One even described it, quote, wise. That was then. How about today? Well, if we're to believe the news reports, every single Democrat in the Senate now plans to vote against the President's budget. They don't even want to use it as a starting point. Why? We got the answer earlier this week from Senator Schumer, when he indicated that Democrats now believe avoiding this debate altogether helps them in the next election. In other words, they think it's better not to keep track of our nation's finances at all than to support any plan that does. So much so that they're about to reject a budget that even they embraced a few months ago. They'll vote against every budget that comes to the floor, including the President's. 6 weeks after the Democratic co-chairman of the President's own debt commission told us that our nation's deficits and debt are like a cancer that threatens to destroy America from within, Democrats are ready to call it a work period without supporting any of the proposals that have been made, without producing anything of their own. Nothing. That's their answer to this crisis. Their focus is on an election that's still almost 2 years away. Well, I think that's a mistake. At a moment when our debts and deficits threaten the very future of our nation, Democrats have no excuse for proposing no vision whatsoever of their own. There's simply no defense for that. Washington is currently on pace to spend about $1.6 trillion more than it takes in this year alone, 3 times the biggest deficit we ever had before President Obama took office. Members of the President's own cabinet admitted last week that Medicare is in need of urgent reform if we want to preserve it for future generations. Congressman Ryan has shown courage by proposing a budget that would tackle these problems. Democrats are showing none by ignoring our problems altogether. This is the contrast Americans will see in the Senate this week. More than 2 years have passed since Democrats have produced a budget of their own. This is a complete and total abdication of their responsibilities, and there's no excuse for it. We have an obligation to the American people to come up with a plan. Democrats are officially abdicating that responsibility this week.